Hi, and welcome to this episode of Shop Miscellany. These are videos where I'm just showing really small projects I do around the shop. Nothing big enough for a video in and of itself, which I try and, get those videos between 15 and 20 minutes at least. Some of the longer formats ones run 40 minutes. These are kind of short, just interesting items I've run across in the shop. Recently I picked up a 3D printer, Bamboo Labs X1 Carbon. I was finally waiting for them to get to printers that were number one, affordable, and number two, that you didn't have to sit there and mess with constantly. And my friend at work has a Prusa he's been using for a year and change now, and he's constantly dialing and tweaking and replacing parts and upgrading. And I just wanted a printer that I could use to print parts around the shop. So this Bamboo Labs pretty much is plug and play. It's $1,500 for the Carbon, $1,000 for the one below that, but I recommend the Carbon. It has a AMS on top that holds 4 spools of filament, and you can change on the fly, so you can just tell it to print multiple without stopping. You can add up to 4 of those AMS units to print 16 different colors or types of filament, which is pretty handy, like support material automatically or different colors. This is a sorting tray. Here's one of the first things I printed with Carbon. This is a carbon reinforced PLA, and unfortunately it warped. The sides cooled before the base or after the base, and it caused it to warp, and I've heated it up and it tends to want to warp again. I think I might throw it in the oven and see if I can let it set it down, but it's a pretty nicely done tray for sorting small parts and then pouring them into a bag or a bin. So that worked pretty well. I did the CAD on this one myself. This is a small taper for my fine vacuum, and fits darn near perfectly. Look at how tight that is. It's like a Morse taper right there. Fits great and allows me to make my own vacuum attachments. I printed a second one that I was modifying the CAD, and I screwed up a little, and I don't know if you can see, there's a little lip in there because the whole thing's offset a little bit. Also, you can tell on the top here it's offset. Still fits, still plenty strong, but definitely screwed this one up. Another thing that I printed that I didn't do the CAD on is this DeWalt battery holder for my brother-in-law. He wanted to hang his batteries on the wall, so it's got 2 screw holes here. Fits the battery, including the locking mechanism, pretty perfectly. These are a couple things I printed that screwed up the end part because I didn't have support material added. But these fit on a standard water bottle and lets you use, they have a little spray head, and I printed a third one, which I don't have here, and it printed perfectly. It's amazing what you can do with these things. These threads work very well, and this surface seals against the water bottle well enough that it doesn't leak even under pressure when you're squeezing the water bottle. So that's pretty cool. Next up, I picked up this DeWalt tool recently. It's got a rotating head. I don't know, I guess that could be handy depending on where you want to fit in. It's a sheet metal cutter and cuts up to 14 gauge, I think. I got the big one. They have 2 models. And I was going to use this to cut a hole in my air conditioning evaporator so I could screw on a piece of plexi or Lexan so that I could get access to clean the coils. This was on sale, but I've used a little bit, and it cuts very nicely, curls up a nice piece of material, and doesn't tend to bend the surrounding material too much because it's a double-sided anvil, so it supports the material as it sort of nibbles a hole through it. And this is sort of just a generic nibbler. Pretty handy tool. Next up, I had a circuit breaker fail. This was a 15 amp circuit breaker. This is just the contact out of the inside with the bimetal strip. And I thought it'd be fun to show you how it works. So the current flows through the strip and out the other side, and the resistance is known. So when enough current flows through here, it gets hot. And let's see if I can demonstrate for you. Once it gets hot, it just flips up like that and disconnects. And then when the bimetal cools off, it goes back to making connection, or you can push it in with the little red button. This is on the bottom of a Breville, and it's a really inexpensive Chinese one, but it was getting a little flaky. But the bimetal works great. And if you're wondering about what bimetal is, it's basically 2 different pieces of metal laminated together that have different expansion coefficients. So one expands faster than the other, which causes it to deform like you're seeing here. Last but not least, I had such success making the air compressor fitting interfaces, the NPT threads to 3/8 inch copper pipe to braze on. I had so much success making those fittings, I thought, you know, I've got a pretty good use here for a 1/4 inch barb fitting that I can connect a hose to an NPT. This is a 1/4 NPT as well. And in order to do this, I ground this up in my tool and cutter grinder. This is a 5-degree relief, which matches this CAD layout. Interestingly enough, I went to look up barb fittings, and there really aren't a lot of standards for this. Among other things, the ratio between the small diameter, which is the inside of the tubing or just a tiny bit over, and the final expansion diameter depends very much on the tubing, and manufacturers are all over the place on these things. So I looked at a bunch online and just guesstimated that for a lot of hose, I guess a 50 thousandths increase from 250 to 3.3 or 250 thousandths to 300 thousandths would be enough. That's basically a 20% increase for 1/4 inch internal diameter hose. So we're going to try and make one of these just because I thought it'd be fun, and I got to use my tool and cutter grinder, and it did a beautiful job here. I don't know if you can see, that's the finish with just the standard grit wheel. This is the Schar's tool and cutter grinder I showed in one of my other videos. And so this is a little bit wider than the Land here, but we should just be able to go plunge and use this as a form tool. Hopefully we won't get too much vibration, but let's head on over to the lathe and see if we can make one of these. First off, we're going to want to put a tailstock on this guy because there's a lot of stick out. I probably don't need quite this much. I could tailor that. But initially, this is what we're going to use, and we'll just see how it goes. I am using a form tool, which already wants to chatter a lot, so that's a little problematic, but again, we're just going to try it and see how it goes. Never made anything like this before. Haven't done a lot with form tools in general, actually. First up, we're going to want to clean this back 1.5 inches. That's a long barb. Maybe it's too long. I just picked something at random. I didn't have anything to go by, so what the heck, right? Gonna take another pass at 100 thousandths. My last pass should be 37 thousandths. Last pass, roughly 37 thousandths. And then I got to use the form tool. Who thinks that using a form tool on a part this long is going to be problematic? Me. I might have wanted to leave a much larger diameter and then just come in with the form tool at each stage. So if I'd left this thing a large diameter the whole length, brought the form tool in and just did the end first, then the next section, then the next section, it would be a lot stiffer and maybe it would work better. We'll find out because we're just going to try it as is. This is a lot of stick out for a form tool. Have to go in a total of 50 thousandths with it too. All right, so let's give it a shot. So again, I think a better approach would have been to leave all this material really big in diameter and then just come in with the form tool and taking it down to size to give it a lot more strength, because right now, once we get in the middle here, it's gonna be taking kind of a big bite. Let's just see, we gotta go in 50 thousandths each time. Okay, there's one. That worked. Okay, here's the next one. I didn't get quite the even number. I guess let's see if the form tool will do it now. So I'm going to go over 0.286 again. One thing, I don't think I got the angle perfect on the form tool. So we could have easily used this to cut the major diameter down. A little bit of singing. Well, so cutting the barb part's easy enough. Can you drill it after? That's another question. Or should I have drilled it first, left the material thick, and used the form tool to do all the cutting? Questions I don't know the answer to. I'm gonna try and drill out the center. Gotta clear chips regularly. I think we can go larger than 1/8 inch. That's what this is. I think we'll go one size up. You can get away with an awful lot, apparently. Without having a lot of support material. All right, that worked out surprisingly well. I'm surprised I got away with it. So I did one too many barbs, so I cut off one barb on the end, which is not good after the fact. I'm kind of curious if I can actually chamfer any of this. So the end of this would really like a chamfer. Yeah, okay, that worked. And probably like a chamfer here for appearances. And then I'm going to turn the back of this flat, so 3 barbs will be good, and then the back part will be flat. Let me tilt you up a little here. All right, I think we've got the barb done there. Let's flip it around, do the threaded side. Just gonna part this guy off. So I want the rear section of this to be threaded with about 3/10 of material for the round here, which doesn't leave a lot of material to hold on to. And so I'm going to put this in a 5C collet, a 6-sided 5C collet. That way I can just grab the edge of this, and hopefully we'll be able to do what we need to do. So having the part that holds a wrench being only a 1/4 inch wide or 3/10 wide does not leave a lot of material for me here. This is going to be challenging. I can see why in CNC you can just do this all in place while leaving it on the bar. That's going to be a lot harder to do here. So you know when you come to the horrible realization that if your head wasn't screwed on, you'd forget it? Well, I never thought about the fact that I don't have hex die holders. I only have round die holders. I have a lot of them, but they're all for round. So we're just going to try and push this guy on here. I've got it chamfered, so it should self-center. And I'm going to try and just manually thread this guy on here. Walk my tailstock in as I'm going. I know you can't see a whole lot. I'm using the tailstock just to keep it square to the surface I'm trying to cut. These take a fair amount of force, because they're cutting their entire length. Yeah, we're getting in there. So I kind of neglected that part. I forgot all about that. I could try and add some lube. Normally with brass, you don't need any kind of lube, but that's better. Apparently sometimes with brass you need lube. I've never used lube with brass before, but looks like in this circumstance where you're cutting on the entire length of a part, yeah, it definitely makes it easier. Also, the final diameter I left was 0.525 because that's what I measured on all the threads on commercial products I had. But according to the spec, the total diameter should have been 0.491. So I had almost 40 thousandths more material, 35 thousandths more material on there than necessary. And so that probably added to the difficulty, the extreme difficulty of tapping this guy. But the threads look pretty good. Now we're going to come in behind here and we're going to cut a 0.375 hole down the middle of this. The dye scored up the back of this thread a little bit, so I'm just going to clean that off. There we go. Unfortunately, I don't have a big enough bite to get a chamfer in there, so I can't chamfer it, but let's see how it worked out. Here's a close-up of the fitting. The hole down the center could be a little bit larger still. I was just worried about running into the bottom, the narrow part here, which is 1/4 inch. So I made it smaller than it should be. So this is not going to let a ton of air through, but I could go bigger. Let's see how the threads work out here. And they tighten up just before the end, which is absolutely perfect. Now you wrench tighten that and it's going to be great. As to how well does it fit a hose, here's some 1/4 inch hose and it goes on very nicely. I think that would make a very good seal. Yep, that's on there. Yep, not getting it off now. Oh yeah, nice. You have to rotate that off. So I think we did a good job. And the bottom line is, this was just an experiment to see if we could. And the answer is, yes, we can. We can make our own 1/4 inch or any other size barbed fitting. All right, so we proved we could do it. It was practically an act of God to get that hose off the barbed fitting. So I think I did a good job there. And it seems to hold really well. The pipe thread side is great. As an epilogue, I was able to drill out the center hole a little bit bigger. That's 3/16. Went up a couple sizes, and that'll let more air flow. Still, you're going to lose some flow when you're using a barbed fitting because it has to fit inside where the air would normally go. So part of it's being taken up by the barb. Nothing you can do about that. Thanks for watching. Hope you find it useful. Hope to see you next time.